Welcome to the meiosis video. Not mitosis, but it does divide the nucleus. We're going to start with sexual reproduction. Sexual reproduction makes a more genetically diverse population. What does that mean? That means that there's a lot of different kinds of organisms of the same species, a lot of different things about them. Asexual reproduction, no sex, like in bacteria, is a really great and a stable environment, but sexual reproduction and its genetic diversity are key to survival in a changing environment. In other words, parents having a lot of different kinds of kids, some of those kids might be better than their parents. But in order to have sexual reproduction, we have to have gametes. What are gametes, you might ask? Well, that's eggs and sperm. Meiosis helps make gametes. So meiosis makes sexual reproduction possible. Without meiosis, no sexual reproduction. So since meiosis is the process that helps produce gametes, we're going to learn about that. The first picture here, as you probably recognize, are the male gametes. They're sperm. And the second one, you guessed it, the female gamete, an egg. So let's just look at a few facts about human gametes. For males, sperm are made fresh daily. Every day, as you're sitting there, you're making sperm. Whereas for females, nope, they were all done before she was born. Females don't have to do anything to do with eggs after they're born. They're all made. Females release one egg every month once they hit puberty. And if for some reason they release 2 or 3, then that's when fraternal twins or fraternal triplets can be conceived. Interesting, huh? So why do we need meiosis? Well, you know about the sex part, but this is part of it. All humans normally have 46 chromosomes in each and every cell. A full set of 46 is called diploid. A baby needs a total of 46 in the first cell when you're making a baby, because that's what humans have. So since they're getting an egg from mom and an egg from mom and a sperm from dad, that's 2 cells. You don't want to have 46 and 46. Instead, 23 from mom, 23 from dad. 23 and 23 are 46, and a half set of 23 is called haploid. So what we need to do is take a diploid regular cell and make haploid cells with 23. That's called meiosis. And we're going to learn about meiosis. It's similar to mitosis, but different. And there are 8 phases in meiosis. Here's a picture of 46 chromosomes colored in. And if you notice, they all have names, and we numbered them. What can I say? So number 1, there's 2 of them. There's a pair of number 2s, a pair of number 3s, a pair of number 4s, pair of number 15s, pair of number 22. So that's 44 up to here. And then you'll have 2 sex chromosomes, either 2 X's or an X and a Y. And that will make 46 chromosomes. So here's a quick picture of the stages or phases of meiosis. We start out with a cell with 3 pairs, in this case, 3 pairs of chromosomes. And that's prophase 1, the nuclear membrane disappears. And then they line up, the pairs line up in the middle of the cell. They meet in the middle in metaphase. Anaphase, they move apart. They aren't splitting. They're just the same number. Like number 1 here goes this way. The other number 1 goes this way. 2 goes this way. The other 2 goes this way. 3 goes this way. The other 3 goes this way. So each half of the cell gets a 1, 2, and a 3. And then in telophase, that makes 2 separate cells from cytokinesis. Then we start over again in prophase. But this first half of meiosis, which all have number 1s by the phases, is also called meiosis 1. And it's when we go from diploid to haploid. Now, the second part of meiosis, we start out with haploid and we just get more cells that are haploid. And again, this is called meiosis 2. And they line up in the middle, and this is when the individuals split in half. And then they go to opposite poles, and we get 4 resulting cells. So, how does that help make eggs and sperm? Well, these 4 cells, let's take a look. In males, we start out again with 46 chromosomes. During meiosis 1, we make 2 haploid cells. And then the second division, we just make double the number of cells. So we get 4 sperm. So again, we start with diploid 46 chromosomes. Then we get 2 haploid cells. And then during the second meiosis, we get 4 haploid cells. Those sperm tails, they happen later, actually. They drew them in here, but they really do grow later. Okay, easy peasy. How about the eggs? They're a little weirder. They really are. You'd think it would be exactly the same, but with no tails, be easier. Well, it kind of is. Let's take a look. So we're starting out with the mom's cell with 46, that's diploid, and it splits in 2. Only half go into this big cell, the other half go into a smaller cell. And then later, during meiosis 2, it splits in 2 again. All of these split in 2. We get most of the stuff going into this one cell and just a little bit going into here, but they all have 23 chromosomes, okay? These green ones are called polar bodies. They're non-functional. They don't do anything. The only one we really want is the ovum. So let's look at that. Diploid cell 46 we start with, and we make 1 large haploid and 1 haploid polar body. And then after meiosis 2, we get 1 big ovum, which is haploid, and 3 polar bodies, which are also haploid. And those polar bodies are not functional. And what happens to them? They get recycled. That's what reabsorbed means. It gets recycled, and all our parts get to be reused again. So let's compare this. Let's compare our meiosis and mitosis. You remember mitosis. What do we use mitosis for? Do you remember? Well, to grow and replace damaged body cells. Like, for example, you have a liver cell. Oops, it broke. We need to replace it, okay? Meiosis is just to make eggs and sperm. That's it. And when we start out with 1 cell, in mitosis, we make 2 cells. In meiosis, we make 4 cells. Okay, that's good. And compared to the parent cell, in mitosis, if we were making a liver cell, would we want it to be different than our original liver cell, or would we want it to work exactly the same? We don't want to make some weird liver cell. We want them to all be identical. So in mitosis, we make identical cells. These 2 cells are identical. But in meiosis, why do we want them genetically different? Diversity, genetic diversity, perfect. Just what we want. And then finally, what kinds of cells do we make? Well, we talked about body cells, but what I really mean is, tell me about the DNA. In mitosis, it's diploid. We've got a full set of DNA, or 46 chromosomes. Whereas meiosis, we've got haploid cells, half set of DNA, and only 23 chromosomes. So that's our comparison. Be sure to compare on your own sometime.